All right, guys, we're going to continue on with our discussion of some of the key points in Chapter 27 by looking at average propensities and marginal propensities to consume. We'll start with average propensities. And basically what we're looking at with average propensities is the measuring of the average consumption at any level of disposable income. And so when you take a look at average propensities to consume, the APC, the formula for it, will always be consumption divided by disposable income. Now, obviously, when you have consumption, we also have to consider what are we saving. And to do that, we're going to take a look at what we call the APS, or the average propensity to save. APS is calculated by using savings divided by the income. We can figure out what the APC for the economy and the APS is for the economy by doing those basic formulas. Just kind of looking at average propensities across the world, you can see that Australia has the highest propensity of consumption. This is obviously from 2009's data, but their APC during that time period, was probably close to about 97% of what they were bringing in, they were consuming. You can see the United States is a close second. Canada is pretty high as well. Marginal propensities are a little different in the sense that with marginal propensities, what we're looking at is what proportion of each additional dollar of income consumers will spend. And so when we get to marginal, we're looking at extra or change in, and I think the big piece there is the change in, okay? So with marginal propensities to consume, to get the formula for that, we have to take a look at the change in consumption, and we're ultimately going to end up having to divide that by the change in disposable income, and that'll give us our MPC, or our marginal propensity to consume. The marginal propensity to save is calculated by taking the change in savings within the economy and dividing it by the change in disposable income. Now, whenever we calculate the MPC and the MPS, the sum of the MPC and the MPS will always equal out to be 1 or 100%. Because remember, consuming, or what you do with your disposable income, is kind of an either-or proposition in the sense that you can either save it or you can consume it. All right, and so we will always have 100% met once we look at our MPC and add it to our MPS. There is a worksheet I'll be giving you in class that helps demonstrate these concepts, but just to show this to you on the slideshow, we can go through and take a look at our various columns and rows. And so if you start with your columns, what we have in the very far left one is our output and our income, and GDP is basically equal to our disposable income in this economy. Second column over, we have C, which is our consumption. Third column is S, our savings. And then we have our APC, our APS, our MPC, and our MPS. Now notice in the very first row, MPC and MPS are blank because there has been no change from the first, we don't have any other data to look at from this first row. Now the APC and the APS, the way that we come up with the APC, again, if you look at the formula, is we're going to look at the consumption, which is 375 billion in this economy, and we're going to divide it by the disposable income, which is right here, 370 billion. So we go 375 divided by 370, and that's how we come up with our 1.01. Now you'll also notice that in this economy, at least in this first row, that we're consuming more than we're producing. All right, we are consuming more than we have in terms of production or disposable income in the economy. So this is a savings of -5. To get the average propensity to save, all we have to do is take the savings, which again in this case is -5, and we divide that by our disposable income, which is 370, and that'll give us our -0.01. Now as we continue to move on, notice that we still have APC data and APS data, but we also add MPC and MPS, and you should also notice that the MPC is at 0.75 and the MPS is at 0.25, added together equals 100%. The reason they're going to stay the same all the way through is because as we work our way from top to bottom in disposable income and consumption, the margins from row to row stays exactly the same. So with disposable income, our margin is obviously 20, and it will always be 20 all the way through, all the way down. And with consumption, our margin is at 15, and will stay at 15 all the way through. And so when you look at the data here, how do they end up coming up with this? Well, with marginal propensity, you can consume basically a change in consumption, all right, divided by a change in disposable income. And so in this case, our change in consumption is 15. all right, and we divide that 15 by our change in disposable income, which is 20. All right, 15 divided by 20 is 0.75. Marginal propensity to save is going to be calculated by using your change in savings, which is in this case 5. And we're going to divide that by our change in disposable income, which again in this case is 20. And so if we go 5 divided by 20, that's where we come up with the 0.25. So that's marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save. Also average propensity to consume and average propensity to save using the formulas to get your data. So you can basically see how likely people are to consume things if we add any new wealth into the economy, or save things as well. Some non-income determinants of consumptions and savings. Obviously we know if there's more money available, and that's probably going to change how much we're consuming and saving in the economy, but there's some other non-income related things that can cause consumption and savings to change in the economy. Some of those things include, wealth, and obviously we always look at income as being a great indicator of wealth, but we have to understand that there's more to it than just that. You look at various other assets that an individual might own. It could be the value of their home, if it's appreciated over time. It could be the value of any artwork that they have. It could be the value of any jewelry that they own. Also, things like stocks and bonds, they can appreciate over time. And if that happens, that person's wealth will change. And as their wealth changes, the likelihood for them to consume might increase. If the value of your home goes up by $100,000 over a 6 or 7 year period of time, because you have that extra equity in your house, you may feel more comfortable in spending and saving less, because if anything ever really bad happened, you could always sell the home and cash out that equity. So those are some things that could obviously affect the consumptions and saving schedules in the economy. If you look specifically at assets like stocks, stock values went way up in the 1990s, especially in the late 1990s, because we had the tech bubble revolution with the internet and all of the dot-coms, and there was a lot of money that was being made in the from 1996 until about 2001. And so as people made more wealth in the stock market, they were more likely to consume with that newfound wealth, and that obviously changed the consumption schedule and also the saving schedule. Also, we have to take into consideration things like interest rates. When interest rates are very, very low, that encourages people to spend. It's less expensive to borrow money, and so people tend to do that more often, borrowing money to buy vehicles or buy homes, update housing. So interest rates play a role there. They also, when interest rates are low, it discourages people from saving. If you're getting 0.00003% in your savings account, people are more likely to keep money in checking accounts, and when that money is more liquid, there's a higher potential chance that they'll consume more. So interest rates play a huge role in the consumption and saving schedules within an economy also. And then the last thing that we look at is expectations. If people believe that times are going to continue to be good going forward, they're more likely to consume. If they think that bad times are on the horizon, they're probably going to pull back and start saving more for that rainy day in the event that something bad does happen, and maybe they have a job loss or something like that, or they have to take wage cuts to keep their jobs. Expectations play a huge role in the consumption and saving schedules within an economy. Okay, last concept here. Hopefully you guys can see this graphic and also the animation that goes along with it. What we're looking at here, on the y-axis we have consumption in billions of dollars, and on the x-axis we have our real GDP. So this is what we're consuming, and this is ultimately what we're producing. Remember, we have the 45-degree line. At any point on that 45-degree line, consumption is exactly equal to production. So everything that's being made in the economy is being consumed. What this graph is showing is a change in consumption and ultimately how that affects the saving schedule. So you'll notice that CO, consumption in this economy, goes up to C1. As consumption goes from CO to C1, you'll notice that savings actually declines. And that makes sense, right? Because it's an and/or proposition. We're either consuming our disposable income or we're saving our disposable income. So if consumption of disposable income goes up, savings of disposable income is going to go down. And that's what this graph is showing, the relationship between the two. Now notice CO to C2. In this situation, consumption is declining. And if consumption is declining, then obviously saving must be going up. And that's, again, what that's showing in this graph. Please let me know in class if you have any questions about these concepts. And again, just a reminder, we do have a worksheet that we'll be working on that shows the formulas for APC, average propensity to consume, and average propensity to save, and also the marginal propensity to consume and the marginal propensity to save. And that's it.